Hello, dear listeners. Welcome once again to another edition of our Radio Bridge program. Well, today in this program, the topic that we have taken up is the role of teachers in a rapidly changing world. Well, today is Teachers' Day, and we know that Teachers' Day is celebrated to honor teachers' vital role in shaping society and to express gratitude for their contribution in imparting knowledge and moral values. Well, in India, this day is observed, that is on the 5th of September, which also happens to be the birthday of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, a distinguished scholar, a philosopher, and India's second president as well. Well, we recognize this great teacher and our second president by also celebrating this day in his honor and marking it as Teachers' Day. Well, we all know that in a rapidly changing world, the role of teachers is expanding and transforming manifold. It is an age where the students' minds are shaped not just by textbooks, but also by technology, competition, shifting societal expectations, which often leads to stress and tension, not just to the taught, but also to the teacher as well. Therefore, in such a changing scenario of today, well, a teacher just doesn't teach syllabus, but often has to attune to life's lessons and values to shape the total well-being of the child and to become a mentor, a guide, a friend, a counselor, and so much more. And therefore, today we have taken this topic called the role of teachers in a rapidly changing world. To tell us more about this role, we are being joined by our panelists from across 3 states. May I have the pleasure to introduce each one of them before you. We are being joined by Shri Santanu Phukan, who is a retired associate professor from Cotton University. We are also being joined by Madam Moumita. She is an assistant professor from the Department of English, Holy Cross College, Agartala, and we are also being joined by Professor Yodida Bhutia. She is from the Department of Education in Sikkim University. Hello there, and a very, very warm welcome to each one of you to this Radio Bridge program of ours. Thank you so much for taking your time out and to be able to speak to us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Well, this is your moderator. Yes, this is your moderator and your anchor, Dr. Moushumi de Chakraborty. So, I firstly wish each one of you a very, very happy Teachers' Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sure that you all, as you look to this day, as you have enjoyed this day, the whole day, and you have so many pleasant memories because we are also being joined by a retired teacher, that is Shri Santanu. I would like to begin with you. Sir, surely the times have changed from the times that you taught in your early years to the times of today. So what is it that you wish to reflect upon, especially as we discuss this topic today, the changing role of a teacher?
Thank you very much. You see, I started teaching over 37 years ago. It's been about 4 years since I retired. Mm-hmm. So when we began, things were very different. Technology wasn't there. The textbook was the thing. And reference books were not available where I was teaching. The book markets were hardly worth anything. So the information that we had was very limited. So the role of the teacher was more of a provider of information, mm-hmm. which the students had no access to at that particular moment in time. And the textbook was much more important than it is today. By the time I retired, things had changed, quite a bit. And by the time I retired, I found that the dependence of the student on the teacher was of a totally different sort.
Right.
So basically about changing times and changing requirements and how the teacher adjusts to these changing requirements.
Absolutely.
I think that is the topic for today's discussion.
Absolutely. We will be coming back to you, but let me just bring in Professor Yodida Bhutia. Ma'am, Shri Santanu has just said that, the role of teachers definitely has changed, especially I think these days teacher's role is just not in the classroom. It is far deeper and wider as well. We because I am also a teacher myself, we have to ready the students, I suppose, for the 21st century. And we not only just impart knowledge, but we also ready them with a lot of skills. So what are your thoughts as your opening comment?
Thank you. As I agree with Phukan sir, the role of the teacher has changed, but I also want to reiterate the values that the Indian society had towards the teachers was of high respect. For example, as it is written in Manu, that it is mentioned that teachers are Brahma's image, which shows that the respect that was given to teachers. And as you say, role of teachers is still there. And you also mentioned that the teacher has to be continuously providing new knowledge, or we can say that teachers need to be a lifelong learner. But this, I would like to remember our eminent poet, philosopher, Rabindranath Tagore. He has mentioned that, the teacher cannot teach himself, or herself cannot teach unless they keep learning. Mm-hmm. They must be a lifelong learner. Absolutely. So he uses a quote saying that a lamp cannot burn itself unless they burn, keeping on burning their own flame. Mm-hmm. And so I want to also remember Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, who has mentioned that the place of a teacher is so important that they not only transmit the knowledge from one generation to other, but also the advanced skills. Right. So this was there, but in between, when we are actually teaching in our institutions or in the schools and colleges, maybe we became more of for a long time, we became more of transmitter of knowledge from one generation, from book to the students. But we also, I think, we did not pay much attention to the skills part of it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now with the coming of the NEP especially, there is so much of stress that is being given to the skill development of a student, and especially the critical thinking aspect as well. So, Ma'am Moumita, if I can bring you in now, surely you would agree with our earlier two panelists who also cited that we are now facilitators. We facilitate learning. We just not transmit, but we do much more. What are your thoughts on this?
Definitely. I do agree with what the earlier speakers have just stated about the role of the teacher in the traditional scenario. But yes, as you just mentioned, with the changing scenarios today, for a teacher to stand within the four walls of a classroom and think that your sole motive is to deliver lecture might not fulfill the needs of this Gen Z. So as new age teachers, we definitely need to go beyond that. Because see, I feel information that are there in the traditional textbooks are now available at their fingertips. They live in a technology-driven world, so do we. But every bit of information, right from the basics to the advanced level, everything is available the moment they go into their Google and other websites. So teaching them what we have been taught might not, make us efficient or proficient teachers. But definitely, as a teacher, or I should say as a new age teacher, it's important for us to understand the unique needs of every individual student,
right,
which looks tough, rather challenging, and we have to cater to such bigger crowds. But then every individual, every student turns out to be different.
Absolutely.
So following the same old traditional set of thoughts, norms, techniques, and lecturing them might look backdated.
Yes.
So we need to change ourselves, our techniques, and the way we deliver things to the students.
Right. Well. Because, the pedagogy itself has changed so much. There's so much variety that is coming into place, not just in the classroom. And as you said, a teacher's role just doesn't end within the classroom. I have students who get in touch with me, say, even at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night, where they have problems and situations which I have to deal there and then. So let's come to another aspect of it, and that is, of course, the learning of today is not really what it used to be before, but now it is tailored to suit the needs of the times, because times are changing. Now, when we are talking about the changing, tailored learning, one thing that has really come about in a big way is technology. Right? I mean, today we are talking about integration, inclusivity. We are talking about integrating the digital tools along with smart boards, etc. So we have something called the blended learning also. Let's stress now a little bit on navigating, how a teacher has to navigate through various technology also. So, Shri Santanu, your thoughts on that? Because earlier, definitely some say 20 years back, it wasn't so much of computerized learning that a teacher need to be skilled at. But today, a teacher has to focus so much on being adept with the computer and so much more. What is your thoughts, just as I bring in other of our panelists too on this?
Thank you. I'm so very glad that you brought this up, because I was thinking about this before coming for the discussion. So it reminds me of a rather funny situation that teachers have been facing throughout, where technology has developed. So, for instance, when I was in school, that was the first time when the calculator came up.
Right.
And our maths teacher was paranoid. He was thinking that people will start forgetting tables and whatnot. And so it was considered to be a very bad thing. But by the time we graduated from college, it was a part of every student's examination kit. They used to carry the calculator to the examination hall.
Right.
The same thing happened when I was teaching and Google came in. So the fear was then that they would simply, get things from Google and then, copy and paste, and that is what would happen. And that indeed did happen. It's not that there are negative uses that have not been happening. It has been happening, which is why the teacher needs to keep up with the times, with the technology. So what happened was that I personally had to go through these, we had give these assignments, and then while reading them, I would find out that this is a sentence which this particular student is simply not capable of writing. So all I had to do was punch out the sentence and the entire article would come in.
Right.
So now, of course, you have plagiarizing, detecting tools and things. And now AI has come in, and once again, the same fear has come in, for the teacher. So it's all been a kind of a process of the teacher adjusting to the new technology that has come in for negative reasons. But at the same time, I think the teacher needs to concentrate on the positive side. For instance, with Google, I'm from Assam and I'm from Guwahati, and so in a manner of speaking, I'm rather more privileged than others in the sense that Guwahati has better bookstores. But I was also in Diffu at one point in time where there were no bookstores. So for a student to access information, and at that time the internet was not there, so it was very difficult. Now we all use Google to get whatever information we need. The role of the teacher is to teach the student how to use this positively. This is much more important. So similarly, AI, for instance, one can always use AI to...
It's a tool, so it can aid us, Yes,
but the point is that answer would not be a good answer. It might be a correct answer, actually it might be correct, but what makes a good answer? This is teacher's job, and I'm speaking purely in the realm of questions and answers, but there is much more, of course. I'm aware of that. All of us are aware of that. But the point is, how does a teacher teach that this is a tool and this is not a shortcut?
Right.
That is the most important thing. And I think that is where the teacher needs to upgrade constantly. Because without upgrading, without staying one step ahead of technology, one step ahead of your students, there is no point in being a teacher if you're going to simply follow your students.
Absolutely. Because this is one profession which you have to dedicate yourself. You don't just count the salary that you get at the end of the month, but you just count how many minds you could actually change for the better. It is just not fill the knowledge, but also make them better human beings. I think, yes, Professor Yodida, you just mentioned in your opening comment that, values have eroded. Values have changed definitely from what it was. I mean, today some students will just literally walk with you shoulder to shoulder, and often often knock you off also in the steps and in the corridors, completely unaware that, and we would, I remember, wait till a teacher would pass and then. But then, having said so, how important it is, Professor Yodida, that a teacher also should continuously upgrade and be positive about this upgradation that one needs to do. Be open to that idea. Yeah,
I so much agree with you. The need of continuous development of a teacher. Otherwise, to keep up with the new technologies that is coming on in teaching profession will be a burden. And then also as a teacher, I think we must not worry so much. I was just reading a report, UNESCO's report 2024 on the Global Teachers Report, which has mentioned that AI should be used as a tool that we all know. And it's very interestingly has mentioned that teachers cannot be coded. So we will be there to help the students using AI, and we must also be upgrading ourselves with continuous professional development. And in the same report, UNESCO has also mentioned that teachers, when they are exposed to continuous professional development, maybe through online, maybe through offline mode, it keeps them motivated because we are the lifelong learners.
Right.
And then only we can pass it to the students and help the students to learn. And we must not worry, I think, to be immediately replaced by the AI because we cannot be coded. And the way we handle our subject and our students it is so much based on our ability and our teaching and the training that we have received.
Right. And Ma'am Moumita, while I was speaking to you, we did mention about this. Do you think teachers in the near future or sometime later, can AI really replace the physical presence of a teacher, you feel?
Definitely not, because maybe we don't teach exactly what we used to be doing, the traditional way of teaching, the handling classes. But then I would say, post-COVID, we have also undergone training, and what we have come up with today has become what they say is the new normal. So, blended mode, as you talked about.
Right.
Having offline classes, online classes, using our ICT tools. Even during the physical mode, we do make use of the videos, the pictures, and these are now ingrained into the system through which we deliver lectures. So, we need to equip ourselves also with this knowledge so that we can cater to the changing needs of the students.
Absolutely.
Because the rote learning, yes. Because the rote learning doesn't help anymore.
Right, absolutely. Professional development, for one, to be well versed with that and taking a deeper interest in it, like being involved in the study material and go deeper in it, because the more deep you go into it, you kind of also have a deeper understanding, and therefore you can also impart that kind of a knowledge, right? So the teacher's role, therefore, has changed manifold. As I was saying, it has really become complex and sometimes a little confusing for us teachers, because in a classroom we just don't deal with one set of students who have the same understanding. So let's come to this point where we also in the classroom have to deal with multiple situations, multiple grades of students also who may not have the same kind of understanding, yet we have to ensure that whatever is being taught is also understood. So in a classroom situation, Shri Santanu, what has been in your times, if you can narrate to us any interesting event or interesting moment that you yourself have experienced in the classroom? Because I remember once while I was teaching, a boy just would walk, sort of twirling his car keys. Then I had to remind him that this is a classroom and not a park where he could just walk in so casually. So surely, the way some students' behavior and all that also has changed. So what can you tell us a little bit more on this?
Before I go on to that, may I just touch in on one small question that you had asked Professor Day about AI replacing teachers.
Okay.
I would like to refer to a poem by Robert Burns, just 2 lines. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Now, AI will be able to tell you that the poet is equating his love to a red flower, to wit, a rose. That is about all that AI can tell you. It takes a teacher to explain that love is an emotion and the rose is a flower. So what is the link between the two? Only a teacher can do it.
Absolutely.
Secondly, the repetition repetition of the word red, or the use of the color red. Why red? Why not yellow or green or whatever color the rose may come in? Why not that? And why the repetition of red? And why June? Now, these are things that only a teacher can do, and therefore a teacher is irreplaceable.
Absolutely.
I can never do that. So coming back to your point, yes, it's been a very interesting journey. I remember I was in one particular college, which I'd rather not name, and I had just 2 students in my major class.
Okay.
And one was very bright, so brightly that his brother had a fabulous library, and he had access to all these books.
Right.
And he was a very avid reader and all that, so he knew a lot. And the other person, on the other hand, I had to teach both. So if I taught the first student, the second wouldn't understand anything. And if I taught the second student, the first, for him, the class would be a dead loss. So we had to take a middle course, and the result was that nobody learned. So that is one of the areas where, it was really difficult. And so gradually we kind of, all the teachers of the department, we gradually moved towards this one who was brighter. And then we would take extra classes for the other. We started basically teaching them separately almost. That is one of the problems that the teacher might face in the classroom.
Right.
The other is the behavioral thing. Now, I think a lot depends on the teacher. Yes, there are students who are, what shall I say, non-conformist, if I may use the word. But that is because of the age. It is cool to rebel at one point in time. So if the teacher understands that sentiment and kind of speak in the language that that student would understand, then you get not only his attention, but you also get his respect. And as a result, what happens is, let's all be very straight about this, teaching is also performance. And how you perform in the classroom, how you draw the attention of the student to you, how do you make your how do you make your lecture more palatable to the student? That is very, very, very important. And I think if you succeed in doing that, you won't have too many students troubling you.
Yeah, troubling or bunking classes and all,
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are just sometimes there just to give their roll calls, right? Just to make sure that their attendance is marked, and thereafter you lose them. So it's so important, therefore, for a teacher to create that atmosphere in the classroom, which is interesting, informative, entertaining sometimes, because, they say that the attention span of a student is very limited. And most of the time, a classroom is filled, these days especially, filled with students, and it's of 45 minutes to an hour, and to capture the attention span of a child or a student for that long is also difficult. Right. So, ma'am, Yodida, your thoughts on this? Because we are dealing with students from different cultural backgrounds, coming from different environments. Some of them come from broken homes and so many other issues they have. Yet we have to all teach them uniformly so that, at the end of the day, we can say that, yes, we taught them well. So how challenging does that also become? And therefore, what sort of teacher's approach should be?
Yes, I agree that the present classrooms are multicultural, multilingual, diverse classrooms with children with their normal physical characteristics, other physical disabilities. And as a teacher, we have to all teach them together. And this is a challenge as well as an opportunity for teachers. That's why some of the approaches taught to the teachers while training are to teach them not only through lecture, using different approaches of the mode while teaching, right, from ranging from lecture to discussion to using different teaching learning material, including integrating AI in a classroom. Otherwise, we will not be able to cater to all different students in a classroom. And if we still rely on those traditional way of just lecturing, I think we will miss out so much. Somewhere it was written that if we teach tomorrow's students as we were teaching yesterday, then we will do injustice for their tomorrow. And I think for this, we will have to we'll have to keep ourselves updated, maybe through different modes of training or learning. That's why we are called lifelong learners, so that we learn ourselves and we transfer to the students using different modes of teaching, learning material, different methods, different approaches, so that as much as possible, maybe we will not be able to cater to all, especially multilingual classroom. It will be absolutely difficult, and that's where there's a lot of controversy, there are a lot of discussions going on, discourses going on. But to a large extent, I think we can cater to the students from a multicultural, we can cater, and to the largest group of language groups, and also differently able students we can cater using a different modes of teaching. If we integrate including AI in our teaching and learning in a day-to-day classroom.
But then I would also like to point this fact. I think as teachers and educators, we also understand, is our syllabus too bookish? In the sense, we are so syllabus-centric. There is a mad rush before semesters or just when the semester is on to finish the course. Our total focus is on finishing the course because the semester exams in colleges especially come so soon that we may not be doing justice actually to imparting that much amount of knowledge that we wish to, because the course is also so wide and so little a time with other activities that a student also has to go through during that period of time, that academic period. So let's focus on this. Ma'am Moumita, you would like to come in on this? What is your thought on the way we are teaching, in the sense the syllabus that we need to finish, that pressure on the teacher also?
Yes, it's true. We do have a lot of pressure, completing the syllabus and finishing up with the curriculum. But then, after all, I think that is not exactly teaching in the true sense. That is just getting the needs fulfilled just for the sake of doing it. If we really talk about teaching, I would say, is a much, much broader aspect, where the teacher can connect with the minds of the students, but the teacher can actually touch upon the hearts of the students he or she is addressing. And that does not fit into this present hustle-bustle in this thing. But one thing as teachers, yes, that's a practical challenge, it's a practical problem we have to face every day. One thing that I can suggest from my front is, we can, instead of just teaching and explaining the lessons, we can also foster critical thinking. In fact, I must say, if we can train our students to do that, instead of memorizing and instead of using the same traditional old answers in examinations, the more we train them to think critically, to go beyond what is already there, to express their perspectives, express their own thoughts, I'm sure this will, enrich their personality. This will enrich them. This will enable them come up with different cognitive abilities in the future. And in the long run, I believe that will count a lot.
Because, to all three of you, what I would like to again bring to the fore, one point that and one aspect, a huge aspect that is very often spoken, and thankfully it is spoken about and recognized also, is the mental well-being of a student, mental health that we are talking about. So we as educators, we as teachers are not only imparting knowledge and information, but also need to look into the mental well-being of a student. Shri Santanu, you have a few words on this. How important is mental health, especially to be catered to also by a teacher in the student?
At the moment, I believe that is the single most area where we need to concentrate. Things have changed. Let us understand this. Nuclear families have come in, and then we have working parents. Both parents are working, and the child is often alone. And I'm talking not only about university or college.
No, even school children, young children.
School children. My wife is a school teacher, so I know what happens there. So what happens is these children who are growing up without the constant attention of their parents, they often develop these problems which they carry along in life up to college and after the university
and beyond.
Beyond. So that is where they need someone to talk to. Unfortunately, the traditional teacher has always been a kind of a figure of authority, someone to be respected, someone to look up to, but never as a confidant. Teacher has never been seen as a confidant. So when I was teaching, I made it a special point to be I was a very strict teacher within the classroom.
Okay.
I will be able to tell you that. But outside the classroom, I was their friend. And I made it a point to go out of my way to be their friends. I would sit with them in the canteen and enjoy a cup of coffee with them, no issues.
Yes, of course.
I would sit down on the steps and listen to them singing, and no issues. In fact, I used to enjoy that much more than the classroom work. As a result of that, what happened was, students used to come to me with their problems, and some of them were really serious problems. So at one point in time, I realized that, yes, we teachers, we might be very friendly, we might be very well-meaning, but we are not really trained in this sort of thing.
Absolutely. That's what I was coming to, actually.
So I got my college authorities to actually start a counseling session with a proper trained counselor. And that was really
yeah.
So the teacher needs to be a kind of maybe a via media from the student through the teacher to the counselor. That, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
To keep the channels of communication open, to keep the doors open, and to kind of invoke that kind of trust. To invoke that kind of trust in the students that, yes, I can speak to this person, and he or she will understand. That is important.
Yeah. But Professor Yodida, I mean, you've just heard Shri Santanu speak, but then are we also expecting sometimes too much from a teacher? The parents, literally right from, say, early, a young kindergarten or maybe a young student, say, in the early part of the school, they just drop the student to the school, and the rest of the time, it seems only the responsibility of the teacher to cater to every well-being of the child. Shouldn't it be a mutual thing between the parents, the teachers, and of course in the institution? How important is the role of the parents also to be educators, to be teachers, to teach the right values and also take care of the child's mental well-being?
I agree that for the mental well-being of a child, teachers, parents, as well as the school, society plays an important role. But I also agree that teachers have a much more role. Besides teaching their curriculum, they must also take care of the children's well-being in their classroom. And I also want to touch the point of mental well-being the previous speaker spoke about, is because I think the school education system has become, or the education system has become very exam-oriented or test-oriented. As a result, we forgot or we went away from the main goal of education, that is the wholesome development of a child or an individual. So when it is very test or exam or marks oriented, we teach like that, students learn like that. For the purpose of passing examination, we teach up to complete our syllabus. So in the process, we become very robotic, and our mental health of both the teachers and students get compromised.
Yeah.
And that's why the national policy has brought the term assessment, not the test and exam, to move away from test and examination and go towards assessment. And assessment includes closely observing a student or a learner or a child, whether a child is learning or not in the classroom in a daily basis. In that way, we move away from the testing, only testing the memory or the rote learning, but we move towards whether the child is learning cognitively, is the child developing emotionally, are the child learning the skills. So, of course, it will be time-taking, but if the teacher is professional enough, I'm sure teacher would like to use assessment more in teaching and learning, which will also help the teacher to keep himself or herself motivated in the profession, as well as to contribute towards the goal of attaining the goal of education.
Absolutely. Ma'am Moumita, what are your thoughts on this? Because I feel there is also a huge bridge, the urban and the rural divide that is there between the students who have so much of accessibility, of so much of facilities, etc. But when we go to the rural areas of our country, any state for that matter also. So a quick word on this, because there's surely a learning divide also between the rural-urban scenario of our country as well. And therefore, a teacher is more pressed. And maybe the teacher also is not fully equipped to handle these kind of situations, say what we are talking about, the mental health, etc. In the urban scenario, it is different. What is your thought on this?
Yes, definitely, because when we talk about the rural sector, it's not just about the teachers not understanding or catering to the needs, to the mental health requirements of the students. But people like, or facilitators like, we say guides, supervisors, counselors, they're also not available at those centers. And I think that is the need of the hour. If counselors or trained counselors are not available, at least the teachers should be trained to at least understand the basic psychological requirements of the students. Because at the present moment, we are dealing with a generation that is very, very curious, very excited, very enthusiastic.
Bundle of energy there, yeah.
Lots of energy they carry along with them. And they're overexcited at most of the time. So they fail to understand what is good, what is bad, what is moral, what is immoral. And as teachers, I think we are matured cognitively, we should at least know the basic things of the students. If we can understand the psychology of the students, we can easily figure out the interests that they have, their personal talents, their abilities, their skills. In fact, the background from which they belong, their emotional stance, and as you mentioned, whether or not they are, facing difficulties at the personal level, and there are family issues. So accordingly, even if we don't have trained counselors present in these remote sectors, at least as teachers, we should take up the role, and we should cater to these psychological demands of the students.
Yeah, and absolutely, I think here comes the role of the government and other organizations also who can play a big role in this. An institution may not be able to cater to all of these, facilities, and so here comes the support that they can actually give into training and sort of improving the knowledge of the teachers also, and building them so that they can themselves take care of the children themselves, right? Now let me come to another aspect. What we understood is that the role of a teacher is multifaceted. She or he has to don different hats at different time in the classroom, from one class to the other, or maybe in the campus too. But then let's talk about the self-care for the teachers. Are the teachers therefore sometimes a little overburdened with so much to do? Because at the end of the day, they themselves are humans. So, Shri Santanu, what is your thought on this? Because, there we have a family at home. We have our own children. We have a personal life. And there you have so much to give. Once you go to your institution, the moment you enter, it is relentless. And so how important is self-care also for the teachers at the end of the day?
I love your use of the word relentless. That is exactly what it is.
Yes.
And unfortunately, what is happening right now is that the institutions are passing on burdens which were never the teachers to begin with onto the teacher. So as a result, what is happening is that the teacher is multitasking all the time while in college. So by the time the teacher gets home, he or she is totally tired and unable to do anything. And so I think the teacher needs to commit to decide on the core areas where he or she is going to expend the most energy. I think that over the years I've seen, till I was very lucky until I retired, we had very little administrative work passed on to us, and we were allowed to choose whether we were willing or not. And I don't really blame the institution as such, because there's a shortage of manpower. But then you have to understand that a person can only give his or her best if he or she is in control of the self. And when I say in control of the self, I mean not just energy-wise, I mean that mental balance.
Absolutely. Physical and mental, because,
Physical and mental balance has to be there. And if you're taking care of your child and you're worrying about what to do in school or in college tomorrow, then both suffer. Your work suffers and your child suffers.
Absolutely. And I think, our ladies here also would agree, Professor Yodida. We know how difficult it is, to kind of give them time, and they have so many of their issues. And there we are in a classroom in a school, say for instance, one section will have at least 60 children. And yet we are supposed to be superhuman beings and make sure every child does well in the exam. Every child's mental health is fine. Every child is doing great in extracurricular activities. So therefore, I think it burdens a lot the teachers also. Your quick words before we are almost wrapping up this discussion.
Regarding the workload, it is worldwide. This phenomenon is there. The teachers are overloaded. It is there in the UNESCO's report of 2024, very recently has published. As a result, teacher leaving the jobs are also very high. And I was very surprised to see the data. 44 million teachers will be required at the school level for the universalization of primary and secondary education. Why? This is one reason, because they are overburdened not only with the teaching but also with the administrative work. The researchers have shown, and it is also we are all experiencing that. And it is important, I think, the teachers agree. They need to realize themselves where they must stop themselves from going ahead, and also maintain their self-esteem in the profession, and also can contribute equally in the profession as well as in the society.
Absolutely. And I think, what, Ma'am Moumita, your quick words before we wrap up. So where do we therefore balance it? There is a question of balancing now.
Yes, definitely. definitely there are challenges, multiple fronts. But then, as teachers, I think we are capable enough to decide and make a priority list for ourselves.
Right.
Definitely, when we enter the college at maybe 8 or 9 in the morning, we might have to prioritize and say, okay, these are the things we need to give preference to. And then henceforth, I think we can take up things based on the needs and based on the requirements of the management. The other thing that I personally feel is, if the management is supportive, there can be an appraisal system, which is a big boost to the teaching faculty, to the staff as well. If you have such a system where you acknowledge the contribution of your team members, of the faculty, that gives us energy, that boosts our energy, and that motivates us to go beyond what we have done. No matter, things might be tasking, things might be challenging, but then at the end of the day, when we are praised, all of us are human beings and we appreciate praises. We prefer people applauding us and saying good things about what we have done, about our contributions that we have made, at least if we are in a private sector. So that appraisal system, if that can be introduced and the institutions can follow that, at least that will be a big boost.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, money doesn't count. And teaching, I believe, is not just a profession, it is a vocation. So if a person loves teaching, if the person loves to speak to the students, the money doesn't matter. What matters is your satisfaction.
Right. Okay.
So definitely, we should go ahead with that.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, at the end of this discussion especially, what we have understood, the role of teachers is simply huge, and definitely it is challenging, it is enjoyable. When the students does well, the happiness, we feel is so much more, right? But then we have also learned to take the challenges and the situations into our stride. And I'm sure each one of us will still continue to do the work that we do. And we still will wake up in the morning and still go to the classroom with a happy smile. Right? So I thank each one of you, and you all have been wonderful speakers really today. Thank you so much for filling in so much of insight into this topic that we have taken up today, and that is the role of teachers in a rapidly changing world. Thank you, Madam Moumita De, Assistant Professor, Department of English from Agartala, for speaking to us. Thank you, Shri Santanu Phukan, a retired Associate Professor, Cotton University, for energizing this discussion so much with your wonderful, wonderful contribution. And yes, not to forget Professor Yodida Bhutia, Department of Education from Sikkim University. It was also a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for your wonderful, wonderful insights into this discussion today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, ma'am. Thank you.